by street.
Yeah, it's great.
What do you want in your local street? Maybe some trees, neat lawns, and no boats on trailers. That's just for me. Well, joining us now from the UK is Tash Frootko. She's the brains behind Rainbow Streets, an initiative that transforms run-down neighbourhoods into vibrant kaleidoscopes of colour. Tash has just completed her biggest project yet, painting 63 terraced houses in Gloucester in the UK in stunning colours, giving the street a rainbow-like effect. Tash, it's so lovely to have you on today. You're inspirational, but what inspired you to start this awesome initiative?
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks so much for inviting me on the show. My inspiration, well, the word is colour. And I came to Gloucester in 2015 to start a business, and I started buying properties in Gloucester to rent to university students. And I just wasn't happy with how the city looked, nor did a lot of people like how the city looked. So just such a simple concept, I decided to ask everyone on the street that I bought my first property on if I could paint their houses. And the rest is history. We've created a template and we've now just finished project 5.
Oh, well, that's, you know what, that's fantastic. And colour, it's definitely a word I'd associate with you. I know it's after midnight there and you're full of colour right now, so we appreciate it. Before we go back, let's move forward a little bit. But tell us about the latest project that you're working on Hopewell Street.
Yeah, so Hopewell Street sits in one of the most vibrant and multicultural parts of the city of Gloucester called Barton and Treadworth. And it's a place that's very close to my heart and actually stolen my heart. And I've decided to do all of my next projects there. And Hopewell Street was this wonderful Victorian terrace street. We get many of those in the city of Gloucester, but it's just been neglected and unloved. And I had this vision, many projects ago, and this is, like I said, project 5. So I selected this street. It's in one of the most deprived parts of the city. It had the worst problem for littering and fly tipping, and that's why I selected it back in November 2021, actually. And after the success of my project from last year, I was looking for a street to decorate, and I'd created some wonderful bonds with the people living on the street and the community of Barton and Treadworth, and it just made complete sense for me to take the colour and put that on the buildings.
How do you choose which neighbourhoods to transform?
Well, up until Hopewell Street, it's really been the streets that I've bought properties on. Well, I soon run out of those. And Hopewell Street, like I said, is in just the most wonderful part of the city. I mean, 70 spoken languages there, the most multicultural part of the city and the county. And I selected it because it seemed like it needed the most amount of help. And that's kind of what I do. I select the most deprived streets and I turn them into magnificent canvases and huge patchworks of colour for people to enjoy.
Oh, I think it's great. We have a street near us at Christmas time. It's like the Griswolds. Every house on the street is all decorated. It's mental. But there's always one or two houses that go, no, I'm not involved and I'm going away. So how do you get the trust of the community to give you the green light to go ahead and paint their houses and whatnot?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is all about trust and also people really jumping on board with my vision because it's quite a wacky thing to do. I mean, the people of Gloucester are quite used to these streets now because we're on project number 5. But yeah, I need to gain the trust. Normally that comes from helping in other ways. I go onto the streets months, or possibly even years before I paint them to sort out all of the problems, antisocial behaviour issues, poor housing conditions. And, the residents of the street then do trust me. And then I can then go for the next step. So it's asking either the residents or the landlords for permission to paint their houses. And the more houses I can get, the better the street looks. So I'm quite persistent.
You must be. Now, Tash, big question. Who pays for it?
So up until Hopewell Street, I self-funded the projects. No one was interested in giving me any funding towards them. And I just knew that if I could get a few streets under my belt and create a portfolio of work and to prove what these streets can do for an area, it's not just about the aesthetic, it's the psychology that goes into these projects and how it can unite a community and actually create much more pride for the people living on those streets. But luckily now I've started to gain funding and that will pay for, it's paid for this project and partially pay for next year's project. So I'll continue to try different funding avenues because unfortunately it can't keep being self-funded by myself.
Oh, most definitely. Well, by the sounds of it, a lot of people are getting on board and it's making such a difference to people as well. If by chance someone wants their street decorated, I mean, how do they get in touch with you first? And tell us a little bit about the feedback as well that you're getting from everyone else.
I mean, I get emails every day asking if I can paint their street, but unfortunately, I do all of this completely voluntarily. So I only do one project per year. That's all time will allow me. I run a business and behind all of this. But yeah, loads of people want the streets painted and the response is overwhelmingly positive. And also these streets are now creating new landmarks for the city of Gloucester. So we're getting visitors coming just to find the rainbow streets. It's absolutely brilliant.
How long does a whole neighbourhood take, does a whole street take? And I'm guessing it actually increases property prices, right? I mean, it would help everyone there.
Well, of course, that was never the plan, was to increase the house prices. But once you increase the desirability of a street and people can see that that street's being looked after and maintained, of course, it's going to affect the property prices. And we have seen an increase in the streets that we've transformed so far. But yeah, there's so much more that goes into these projects. And the main thing is that the community love it. And that's what keeps me wanting to do more and more.
We just love it. I'll tell you a thing, in Australia, councils actually penalise people who paint their houses bright colours here. In Australia, they get told to paint them back to boring colours. So I think you're onto something absolutely amazing, Tash. Thank you so much for sharing your passion and your love with us. It just looks incredible.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Now get to bed early morning tomorrow.
Bye.
Take care.